In the glamorous world of Hollywood and royalty, appearances are everything. For Meghan Markle, mastering the art of image became second nature. But behind the polished smiles and staged photographs, there was another story quietly unfolding. One that left her sister, Samantha Grant, battling shadows she never expected. From the outside, the Markle sisters once seemed like any other family. Old photos and social media posts suggested moments of closeness, supportive smiles, and the occasional public acknowledgement. But insiders began whispering that things weren't nearly as picture-perfect as they appeared. As Meghan's star rose higher, Samantha's opportunities seemed to fade, and the timing was far too suspicious to be dismissed as coincidence. Hollywood thrives on perception. Reputation is everything. And for Samantha, each time she tried to move forward, a new obstacle seemed to appear, often in the form of a whisper, a headline, or a subtle online rumor. To casual observers, it might have looked like bad luck, but those who watched closely began to see a pattern. Meghan Markle's ascent was nothing short of meteoric. Every appearance was carefully staged, every interview perfectly polished, and every photograph seemed designed to craft an image of grace and modern royalty. But what happens when that same PR power, the very machine that builds a star, turns inward against family? Reports suggest that Samantha became the unintended casualty of Meghan's obsession with image control. Headlines branded her as difficult or opportunistic. Articles exaggerated minor disagreements until they became defining traits. And whenever Samantha attempted to step into the spotlight, whether for a project, an interview, or even a casual public appearance, the timing of negative press was uncanny. For Samantha, the frustration was unbearable. Hollywood thrives on opportunity, but when reputation is under fire, doors close quickly. Every time she took a step forward, the narrative pushed her 2 steps back. Those watching closely began to notice a disturbing consistency. Samantha would announce something, a project, a chance to speak, even a potential role. And almost immediately, rumors would surface, casting her in a negative light. Small mistakes or candid statements that should have been harmless suddenly grew into public controversies. Whispers in Hollywood are powerful. Casting directors, producers, and journalists all rely on reputation to make decisions. Even a faint doubt, a subtle suggestion of unreliability, is enough to shift attention elsewhere. And in Samantha's case, these doubts seemed to follow her everywhere. Meanwhile, Meghan's rise continued undisturbed. Every red carpet appearance was celebrated. Every new venture was met with glowing headlines. While one sister fought to repair her name, the other seemed untouchable. Insiders have long said that Meghan understood the power of public perception better than most. She knew how to shape it, how to protect it, and how to use it as a shield. But in protecting her own image, Samantha's career appeared to suffer in the process. Whether intentional or not, the effect was the same. Samantha was left on the defensive. No matter what she tried, she couldn't seem to escape the cloud of negative press. The rumors became part of her identity, overshadowing her work, her ambition, and even her personal life. It was as if every move she made was already predicted and countered by whispers that kept her in Meghan's shadow. To the public, Samantha was portrayed as the estranged sibling, the one who couldn't quite measure up. But the truth behind the headlines painted a more complicated picture. Far from being obsessed or opportunistic, she was fighting to be heard, to be recognized outside of Meghan's orbit. Yet, the timing of negative stories made that fight nearly impossible. Each article, each rumor, seemed strategically placed to keep her silenced. And while Meghan's polished persona grew stronger, Samantha's reputation weakened. It's one thing to battle the pressures of Hollywood. It's another to feel that the force working against you might be tied to your own family. Social media only amplified the struggle. What might once have been whispered in private industry circles became global overnight. A vague tweet, a speculative article, or a carefully crafted headline could undo months of work. For Samantha, it wasn't just about career setbacks, It was about identity, about being painted into a role she never chose, the difficult sister, the opportunist, the one left behind. And once those narratives take hold online, they rarely let go. Meanwhile, Meghan's ability to maintain control of her public image seemed unshakable. Every philanthropic project, every royal duty, and every glamorous appearance reinforced her position as Hollywood's golden girl. For fans, the contrast was striking. One sister rising higher with each passing year, the other struggling just to reclaim her voice. The rift didn't just affect careers, it bled into personal life as, well, family gatherings became tense, with whispers and awkward silences replacing what should have been normal sibling exchanges. Even friends and insiders began to sense the division, as if Samantha was being subtly cast aside, her narrative rewritten to fit a story that elevated Meghan and diminished her. For Samantha, the pain went beyond lost opportunities. It was about being erased, not only from Hollywood, but from her own family's legacy. Every time she tried to correct the record, her words seemed twisted, reshaped into yet another headline that worked against her. And perhaps most devastating of all, she realized that fighting the machine, the endless cycle of headlines, social media posts, and carefully curated narratives, was nearly impossible. To some, this was all coincidence. But for those who watched closely, the consistency of Samantha's struggles suggested something deeper. Each setback lined up too neatly with Meghan's rise. Each negative story landed at the exact moment it could cause the most damage. Chatui. Result was a story that felt less like chance and more like strategy. A story where one sister's ambition became another sister's downfall. And as Meghan's star reached new heights, Samantha's fight became less about success and more about survival. Every attempt Samantha made to reclaim her voice seemed to be overshadowed. Interviews were twisted, social media posts exaggerated, and gossip spread faster than she could ever respond. It wasn't just bad press. It was a cycle, one that seemed designed to keep her stuck in place. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Each time Samantha tried to step forward, another headline emerged to pull her back. Every potential opportunity was clouded by whispers of unreliability or estrangement. Even when she defended herself, her words became part of the drama, spun into new narratives that only deepened the divide. Fans watching from the outside couldn't help but notice the stark contrast. One sister's reputation remained untouchable, her star rising higher with each appearance, each project, each headline. The other was left struggling, her name overshadowed by constant speculation and negative framing. The symmetry was too perfect. One ascended as the other fell. In Hollywood, perception often matters more than talent. Casting directors and producers hesitate when uncertainty surrounds a name. For Samantha, that uncertainty became her shadow. The more she tried to break free, the stronger the shadow grew. It wasn't about what she could do, but about what people thought she was. And those thoughts were rarely kind. Meanwhile, Meghan's image remained carefully curated, strengthened by every positive headline and glowing feature. Her philanthropic projects, her royal duties, and her calculated public appearances ensured she was always seen in the best light. If Samantha was battling rumors, Meghan was basking in admiration. And that difference, magnified over time, turned into an almost insurmountable gap. Family loyalty became collateral damage. Sources close to the Markles whispered that private gatherings grew tense and uncomfortable. The kind of warmth expected between sisters seemed to dissolve under the weight of suspicion and resentment. Samantha, already dealing with professional setbacks, felt personally isolated too. Her attempts to repair relationships or defend herself only seemed to create more headlines, and never the kind she wanted. For observers, it raised a haunting question. How far does ambition go when family is in the way? Was it coincidence that Samantha's struggles mirrored Meghan's rise? Or was there something more calculated happening behind the scenes? The whispers suggested that Meghan's team understood the value of controlling the story. A vague leak here, a subtle headline there, just enough to shape perception without ever saying anything directly. It didn't have to be blatant. It didn't even have to be cruel. Just consistent, just well-timed. And it worked. For Samantha, the result was devastating. Her career slowed to a crawl, opportunities slipped away, and her reputation became harder to repair with each passing year. She wasn't just battling Hollywood. She was battling a machine that thrived on narratives, a machine that seemed designed to protect Meghan at any cost. By the time Samantha realized the scope of what was happening, the damage was already done. Years had passed, and her name had been cemented in the public eye not as an actress, not as a writer, not even as a sister, but as the estranged sibling overshadowed by the Duchess of Sussex. The media, of course, loved every moment. Family drama sells, sibling rivalries capture attention. And the Markle saga had all the ingredients of a story too good to ignore: royalty, ambition, betrayal, and the slow unraveling of family ties. Each article, each segment, added fuel to the fire, ensuring the drama never faded from public view. For Samantha, the impact was deeply personal. She spoke of years lost to this battle, time she couldn't get back, and a reputation that felt nearly impossible to rebuild. What she wanted was simple: the chance to live her own life, to pursue her own career, free from the constant shadow of whispers and headlines. But in a world where perception is power, breaking free from that shadow was never going to be easy. As Meghan continued to dominate the spotlight, Samantha became a cautionary tale of what can happen when family collides with fame. It wasn't just about talent or opportunity anymore. It was about control, about who gets to shape the story, and who gets left behind in the process. And so, the question lingers: was Samantha Grant's downfall truly bad luck? Or was it the calculated result of a machine that refused to let anything threaten Meghan's image? To those watching closely, the pattern speaks for itself. Too many coincidences, too many perfectly timed setbacks, too much silence from the one person who could have set the record straight. Hollywood thrives on drama, but this wasn't just a script. This was real life, a family fractured under the weight of ambition and image. Samantha's fight wasn't only for recognition, it was for survival in a world that had quietly written her out of the story. As years passed, Meghan's brand remained strong, unshaken, and carefully maintained. Samantha's story, meanwhile, lingered in the shadows, a reminder of what happens when perception becomes more powerful than truth. The contrast was undeniable. One sister celebrated, the other erased. In the end, it wasn't just a story about two sisters. It was a story about the cost of fame, about how far people will go to protect an image, about how ambition, once unleashed, can reshape not just careers, but families too. Samantha's struggle became more than a personal battle. It became a cautionary tale about power, perception, and the brutal reality of life lived in the spotlight. And as the Markle saga continues to unfold, fans are left to wonder whether reconciliation is even possible, or whether the divide between Meghan and Samantha has grown too wide to ever bridge again. Because in the world of fame, loyalty is fragile, reputation is everything, and sometimes the people standing closest too. You are the ones who pay the highest price.